Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Technology, who needs it, right? That's why I wasn't able to be here a little bit earlier. I need to apologize to all those folks that were listening to the John Abraham interview. What a great job John did. And thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Logan, for taking care of John and making him feel at home. It wasn't the flu. I wasn't sick. I didn't sleep in and forget the alarm. The hurricane caused some damage. A tree fell on the line. The next thing you know, they had to redo the internet, and we were out for about 36 hours. So thank you, everybody, for your patience. But we're back. Vincent, you and I, let's talk a little bit college football. How about it?
Hey, man, let's get to it, my man. You are the savant. You're the king of college football. California's in the house.
Well, I'm more of a court jester when it comes to college football, but I appreciate the compliment. Hey, let's look at some of the games that are going to be taking place this week locally. Auburn will be at Georgia. And before we go another step, was that not one of the best games that you've seen in a very long time between Alabama and Georgia last week? Your thoughts, if you want to go back to last Saturday evening on primetime.
I think it was the best college football game that I've seen in the last 20 to 25 years. When I was watching that game, I know Alabama came out of the gates and they was making play after play, but I knew Georgia was going to get back in the game because Georgia was just too good of a team and had too much talent. But what I liked about it was in the second half, how Georgia really came to work. And Carson Beck, even though he threw 3 interceptions, I thought he played real well. And, of course, the young man, what more can you say about Jalen Marrow? They always say, where I'm from, the 901. Big-time players make big-time plays in the spotlight. It's like the great song of George Benson, On Broadway, baby, Neon Lights.
Yeah, I thought it was – I was driving home after doing the State Southern game, and I'm listening locally here to the WSB feed. I have to admit, Scott and Eric Zier, they were a little disappointed, to say the least. They were going to pull their hair out there in the first half when it was 28-0. They didn't think it could get much worse, and so I felt along with them. That's one of the things they do. Larry Munson, the same thing. You feel his passion, you also feel his pain, and I felt the pain there. And I was thinking, there's no way they got a chance. Then they take the lead. Oh my gosh, what a amazing game! But that one's over. It's in the books, but it'd be interesting. Go ahead.
I'd like to say one more comment. This is you. I'm going to call you out today. David Pollock. You said Georgia didn't have no great skilled people this year. I think they changed after that game. So give Dominic Lovett some love. Get Adrian Smith some love. Please do. Because they played very well for Georgia in that second half. That's what really burns me up here on 100 Yards Football. People are so impatient and want to say things for shock value. But Georgia's got a real good football team, and they got some receivers over there that can make plays. I want to get that off my chest today. Back to you, Savant.
Yep, they're a fantastic football team, and someone had to lose, and it just so happened that Bama had their number in Tuscaloosa. No big deal, in my opinion, because you still have the rest of the season. You get through that. You get the SEC championship game again. You'll probably see them again, and then you may see them again in the national championship game. There's a lot of things that have to come into play here. But the season isn't over. Ask Clemson. Look what they're doing. We'll talk about them in just a minute. But interestingly enough, Georgia has won and been undefeated over the past couple of years, and Bama has been chasing after them in a way that they've always been able to catch up. Let's see if that role being reversed here this year is advantageous for the Dogs. Anyways, the Auburn Tigers will be in Athens. They'll be between the hedges. That's one of the local games. Another is Duke at Georgia Tech. You also have Jacksonville State going to Kennesaw State. They'll be in Marietta. Austin Peay is at West Georgia. That game will be Saturday afternoon. And then you've got Valdosta State ending up on the road. They'll be going to Shorter. A bye week this week for Georgia Southern, for Georgia State, and for Mercer. Sorry about that. I lost a light. Vincent, any other comments regarding the local games?
Only one comment about the Duke and Georgia Tech game. Brent Key, this is a very important football game with you. Now, think about it, the first game of the season when Georgia Tech beat Florida State over there in Dublin, how we was talking about Georgia Tech was going to be possibility of 12 playoff team. Remember that? Everybody in the 404 down there in Metro Atlanta, they was excited.
Yeah, they were.
Look where we at now. You're 4-2, 3-2, excuse me. You playing Duke, that's coming off one loss and had a comeback win over North Carolina last week. Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils are coming here to play some good football. And Georgia Tech, you lose this game, I think that'll be 3 games Tech has lost on the year. And then maybe we start feeling different about Brent Key.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and especially Duke always seems to pull out 1 or 2 games a year that they have no business winning, and they win anyways. They're only the 1 or 2. They're not the best team in the ACC, but they find a surprise or two and are able to do that annually. Let's hope it's not against Georgia
And
Tech.
excuse me. I want to say Duke is undefeated. I apologize.
Sure, understood. Yeah. All right, Friday night on Fox at 9 o'clock, Michigan State ends up on the road. They'll be going to number 6 Oregon. Now, we haven't talked about Oregon yet this year, but they've got some ball players there that you need to pay attention to. Michigan State coming off a big loss against Ohio State. Vincent, your thoughts about this one?
All I can say is this. We talked about Oregon before the season, how they was going to be a team that was going to challenge for the national championship. All I got to say, Dan Lanning, you've done a great job out there, even a better job than I even imagined that you could done. Because you stepped in a program that was really kind of, I want to say, knocking at the door. But Dan Lanning has got Oregon with it now. They're getting respected. So I want to see on Friday night, is the Ducks quack, quack? Are they seriously national championship contenders?
Well, their numbers aren't real high, but they're going to be getting better, at least in my opinion. I think so. Dylan Gabriel, he's completing 81% of his passes. That's off the charts. He's got 1,190, just shy of 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, only 1 interception. But they can run the ball. Jordan James is their big guy right there. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. They are, the Oregon Ducks, that is, 301 yards in the air every week. That's 20th in the nation. They don't run it a whole heck of a lot. They get 152 yards on the ground, but they can score with just about anybody. They're averaging 34 points a ball game. Michigan State, for me, it all depends on Aiden Childs. He's their quarterback, and if Aiden has a good game, then the Spartans have a much better chance of winning. 56% of his passes are complete. He's thrown for a little over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, but 8 interceptions. That, to me, Vincent, that's the weakness that they have right now. Get those interceptions and turnovers down, and then you got a chance to play.
Yes, sir.
All right, next game, Saturday. Let's talk about some Saturday games. We're going to begin with the only game this week that we are going to feature between 2 ranked opponents. Missouri, the Tigers, end up going to A&M and taking on the Aggies. Missouri is number 9 in the nation. Texas A&M is 25th. This game is at noon. Vincent, your thoughts about this big one?
Missouri has stayed ranked all season long in the top 10, but let's be honest, they haven't played real good football this year. So I'm looking for them. They're going down to College Station, and Mike Elko has done a phenomenal job with the Aggies. Had a big win over Arkansas last week. So I'm looking at Eli Drickowitz and the Missouri Tigers. Are y'all serious? Are y'all really, as you're talking down there in Columbia, Missouri, are you national championship contenders there? Because that's what they was talking about. But Missouri hasn't played good football. Well, we know what Mike Elko was going to do at Texas A&M. Very solid football team.
Yep, I agree. And Marcel Reed, he's only completed 54% of his passes, but he has 6 touchdowns. He doesn't have any interceptions. He's averaging 6.6 yards when he carries the ball. Next game, Boston College at Virginia, an ACC matchup. 4-1 Boston College travels to 3-1 Virginia to take on the Cavaliers.
Got to give Bill O'Brien a lot of credit, man. I thought that was kind of crazy coming back home and taking the Boston College job. He's from Boston, and we know him being offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, him being offensive coordinator over there at Alabama, him being the head coach with the Houston Texans. You just didn't think that he'd have Boston College competitive. But I'm going to tell you this, that is a very good Boston College football team.
Thomas Castellanos, 64%. He's thrown for about 745 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's averaging 10.4 yards per completion. Virginia, on the other side, keep an eye out for Anthony Candelaria. He's only a sophomore. He's completed 68% of his passes for a little over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's averaging 8.4 per completion. And we mentioned Duke a little while ago. I think Virginia, this is probably one of those weeks where they sneak out a win, or at least are attempting to. Obviously, every week they would like to, but they may sneak out a win and get one against a team that they don't think they normally would have a chance to beat. I'm wondering if that's the weekend for them here in Virginia. Next game, this will be a big one. Iowa and the Hawkeyes take on the Buckeyes. They go to Ohio State to take on the number 3 team in the nation.
They say Iowa plays good defense, no question about it. One of the better defensive teams in the country. But you're looking at Ohio State. And I was looking at something I saw on social media, and I was listening to Urban Meyer. He said this Ohio State team right now is probably, maybe in the history of Ohio State football, the most talented team, position by position. And when I hear that, I always think about, when you talk about talent, are you comparing all the great Ohio State teams back to the 6'8" super sophomores, Rex Kern, Jack Tatum, Jim Otis, Jan White? Because when I hear that type of respect that Urban Meyer gave to Ohio State, I said, man, this football team might be the best team in the country. So I'm going to give it back to you, Harper. If Iowa's not ready to score no points, they're going to get run out of the gym. And all I can think about when I hear that, when people talking about this football team, is dun, 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 dun. Back to you, Harper.
All right. Well, defense is the key for Iowa. They only give up about 13 points a ball game. They're 15th in the nation that way, but they're going against a team that is averaging 8 points. They're the 5th in the nation, and their defense is number 1. Ohio State has only given up 6 points on average per game. Iowa is going to have their hands full. Cade McNamara, he's their quarterback, 62% completions for the young man. He's only got 588 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Watch for these running backs. For Iowa, it's Caleb Johnson, 86 carries for 685 yards. He's averaging 8.4 yards per carry. Why don't you just give it to him every single time? You'll get a first down, you'll get another first down, you get the sticks moving, but it doesn't work that way, and you know that. But on the other side, Quinshawn Judkins, Ohio State's running back, 47 carries, 390 yards for him. He's averaging 8.3 yards per carry. So the running game, this could be one of the shortest games of the week in terms of the expiration of time, because both teams can run it, and they run it very well. But if the defenses are able to stop, I have to give my my nod to, I think the Buckeyes have a better defense overall, man for man, and depth at certain positions, to where that could be a big game for them. Anyways, all right, and next game, number 15, Clemson at Florida State. Why are you talking about Florida State, guys? Why are you doing that? Well, we're really not. We're talking about Clemson. We talk about a team that's making a comeback. As we mentioned here in the show, when we talked a little bit about Georgia and for the rest of the year, Clemson knows Georgia really well. They had a loss the opening week, but look at them since then. Clemson is 3-1, and they're going to be going to Tallahassee. Vincent, your thoughts about this one?
I'm going to say this. I want to feel for the Florida State people, because we know some very good Florida State people. Bobby Butler, very good friend of the show, part of the show here on 100 Yards Football. Charlie Ward, Deion Sanders, a great tradition at Florida State. And I love the coach Mike Norvell, because he coached at the University of Memphis, where I'm originally from, Memphis, Tennessee. But Harper, I just cannot sit here and believe that the rails have fallen off in Tallahassee. I'm just sitting here, I can't realize how bad of a football team they are. And obviously, I don't want to say this, but Coach Norvell has lost the team. I don't know which way we're going to go. I'm just hoping that he can do enough to keep his job at the end of the year. Now, with Clemson, all I got to say, respect to Dabo Swinney, Alabama boy. He said he wasn't going to go in the transfer portal. They got blown out by Georgia in the first game here in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium over there in Atlanta. But since then, Clemson is playing like they are a playoff team, and they can be dangerous. And they've improved on both sides of the ball, especially offense. Back to you, Harper.
Yeah, I think Clemson is really they shot themselves in the foot in week 1, and I just think they were out prepared. They weren't ready. They weren't ready to fight back either. And since then, my goodness, if there is a team that's on a mission right now. So I think this will be business at number 1, number 2, and number 3. Go in there, go get your win, get on the plane, and head back up to Clemson, South Carolina. Cade Kubnik is their quarterback. 62% of his passes are complete, 984 yards. That's a nice number. It's good. 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I like those numbers a little bit better. This guy's out to play right now. Phil Maffa is their running back. He's averaging 8.0 yards per carry. He's got 43 touches so far this year, and he's got 392 yards, 2 touchdowns for that young man. Florida State, they lose to Georgia Tech. They lose to Boston College. They lose to your Memphis Tigers. They beat Cal, but then they lose last week to SM. There's a lot going on there that we don't know about, so I'm not going to speculate. I'm just saying things are rough out there in Tallahassee, and you're right. There could be some people that are looking for new work, if that makes sense, because I don't know if he's lost the team or if the team needs to win. That's what they need to do, and what a great turnaround if they were able to beat Clemson, but I don't see it happening. Our next game, number 4, Tennessee Volunteers. They go to Arkansas. Pig Suey! Vincent, 2. These are your boys now. The Razorbacks, 3-2. Your thoughts on this game with Tennessee coming into town?
Well, 2 programs that's dear to my heart. People who know me knows that I love the University of Tennessee. I've had a nephew that graduated from there in 2006. How you doing today, Mr. Randy Foster Jr.? My sister went there. Couple of guys out of my neighborhood in South Memphis played football at University of Tennessee with teammates at Reggie Whitecock and Peoples and Mark Studaway. I've been a Tennessee fan since 1968. The great John Ward was announcing games, and then I ended up going to the University of Arkansas. All I can say is this: it's going to be a tremendous atmosphere. It's one way in, one way out when you're traveling from Tennessee to Arkansas. You got to think about Highway 71, because that's the only highway that go up into the mountains to the campus of University of Arkansas. And as I told you and our producer Logan Landers, the greatest thing I'm going to look about this football game and think about that oil, if we know what we're talking about, it's going to be flowing. And when Tennessee gets on the field, all I can see is all that red and white and the big hog in his cage weighing over about 600 pounds. And all them great fans up there, woo, Pig, Suey, woo. Boy, that's one of the most outstanding chants in college football anywhere you want to hear it. Sam Pittman, man, I love you. You brought Bobby Petrino back as your offensive coordinator. This is a game that the Razorbacks have to have, because you go 3-3, Sam, I think the heat is going to be on.
Yeah.
As far as Tennessee, I'm going to be honest. Josh Heupel has done a hell of a job. I didn't think he would have Tennessee even in the mention of being a college playoff team when he first got the job. Actually, I didn't want him to have a job. But I'm going to tell you, he has done a hell of a job. And that's a very balanced Tennessee team. And they went over Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. The one thing that stuck out to me, Harper, they can play defense now within the line of scrimmage. Back to you, Harper. Back to you, Mr. LeBel. We might have lost Harper for a minute.
Might have lost him. Looks like it, Vincent. Like you said, we had those issues early on, but that is what it is, right? We'll keep it rolling here. So, Vincent, you will go ahead and just talk about the final game here. We got Michigan. We got Washington. Looks like Harper. Looks like we got you back. You there, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll give it back to you. The reins are back. Harper LeBel, what about this final game here with Michigan and Washington?
Well, I was going to mention something about Nico Iamaleava, but that took so long to say that we got put on pause. 4-1 Michigan, taking on 3-2 Washington. Have to admit, the Huskies are impressing me. Yes, they've got 2 losses, but I kind of like that football team. Your thoughts, Vincent?
I'm going to tell you, the Washington Huskies have had 2 real tough losses this year. Washington State and last week against Rutgers. I'm going to tell you, they could have easily won them football games and be 5-0. That is a very good football team. Michigan, this is a big game for you, Sharon Moore. I really see Michigan having problems. I'll give it back to you, Harper, simply because Michigan could not score the ball and their running game is not as strong as last year. And then look at all what Michigan lost last year. They lost a lot of good football players that went on to the NFL. But this is a Washington team going up in the northwest sector of the country. You got to think the Huskies have got to be kind of upset under Jeff Fish, their new head coach. Washington is a pretty good football team, man.
Yeah, neither team is doing very well scoring. Michigan's averaging 24 points a game. That's 94th in the nation. Washington is 27 points a game. That's 86. Both of them are going to rely on defense. They always have. Michigan is giving up about 21 points a game right now. That's 51st. I think that's a little bit higher than where Michigan really feels comfortable. And with the Huskies, they're only giving up 12 points a ball game. They're in the top 10 in that regard. Davis Warren is Michigan's quarterback. He completes 66% of his passes. He's got 444 yards. That's actually a real low number if you ask me. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So Kalel Mullings, the running back, he's averaging 7.0 yards per carry, and he's got 6 touchdowns there on the air. That's where Michigan, they're going to have to be able to run the ball against the Huskies. And if they do, they're going to have a chance to keep it close, keep the sticks moving, and give themselves a chance to win at the end of the ball game. Off air, Vincent, you mentioned something that was really a critical component where the Washington field goal kicker is just having a tough year. He missed 3 field goals last week. But Will Rogers, folks, if you're listening for a name, and Will Rogers isn't the happiest person that you ever met from back in the 1920s and 30s, we're talking about the quarterback for the Washington Huskies right now. I didn't know anything about it up until just a couple weeks ago. 74% or his completion percentage. He's thrown for 1,354 yards. That's a pretty good number. 10 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's what impresses me. He's averaging 9.2 yards per carry. And Jonah Coleman is a pretty good running back. Watch out for him. He's got 72 carries this year. He's averaging 7.2 yards per carry. Here's the thing about Washington. Of their remaining games, after this one, 5 of their remaining games will be against ranked opponents. They've got to get a win here. That, to me, will be critical for them to be able to bounce back from that loss against Rutgers. Vincent, your final thoughts.
When you're looking at this list of great college football games, what I want to look at coming up this Saturday is Missouri for real, being ranked number 9 in the country. Of course, I want to see what Clemson is going to do. Is they're going to continue being great? As we know over the last 2 weeks, Clemson has really played outstanding football. And, of course, everybody wants to see how powerful are they in Columbus. Is Ohio State the best team in the country? And then, of course, are the Tennessee Volunteers for real? Josh Heupel, does he have his team that can play in the national championship level? But I would say this, talking to some people from Fayetteville, Arkansas, I still have some connection there and still have some good friends. This game right here is a very critical game for Sam Pittman. And I like Coach Pittman. I think he's done an outstanding job in Fayetteville, but this is a kind of must-win game for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Well, you got it there, folks. Week 6. Packed with plenty of good football games for you to watch. They're at all different times, so if you can find a way to visualize this and be able to see what we're talking about, a lot of good teams that are going to be playing this week against some formidable opponents, and we look forward to telling you how that turns out when we get back together again next week. But for this week, this is Harper LeBel, along with Vincent Turner and our producer, Logan Landers. Thank you so much for tuning in to 100 Yards of Football, the college football show. We appreciate you being a part of it. Have a great day.